Oh, hey, y'all. How y'all doing? It's been a long time. Too long. Way too long. Let me say hi to everybody. Let's see who we got in here. Hello, Shmeda. Hello, Molson Man. Hi, Jean Duffy. Hey, Amelia Sparkles. Rhodey Gal. Good to see ya. Good to see ya. How's everybody doing tonight? Well, thank you guys. I'm glad you liked it. I was a little upset because it got a little dicey right at but because of the StreamYard or whatever. I need to reboot my modem, I think, and redo the thing where you sync it to your devices or whatever. I haven't been live in so long that I haven't really noticed an issue. But yeah. So, as you can see, we got a new look. I reworked some stuff. Got, a little bit cleaner graphics going, chilled out a little bit, worked. That intro took me a long time. So I hope you guys really like it because we're going to be using that intro for a long time. All right. So, okay, before we get started with the trial, I want to talk a little bit about what's coming up for the channel, stuff that you can. Thank you, Jean Duffy. I appreciate it. I don't know why I said your whole name. I know I can just call you Jean. I'm glad to see you. It's been a while. And I forgot what I was saying. Oh, yes. Okay. So I want to tell you guys a little bit about some stuff that's coming up on the channel. So I'm going to start on Saturdays. Um, I'm thinking of calling it like Saturday Spotlight and featuring, you know, depending on the case, right? Um, it might take multiple Saturdays to do to cover and highlight just one specific case and really deep dive. So the first case I'm going to start with is Candace Montgomery. If you haven't seen the Hulu show Candy, you should definitely check it out. So that'll be this Saturday. We're going to do a deep dive. We're going to go into um, what the book says, what the show on Hulu, their version of events, and then we'll see if there's anything that's different, right, from like the official account. And then the next one we're going to do, and this one I can tell you is going to take multiple Saturdays because I've already started the deep dive into this case and it's a lot. So, was it this weekend? I think I feel like it was Friday. Melissa Jade went over to the Amityville Horror House, right? The DeFeo's old home, right? And she was doing like a paranormal investigation outside of the house. She wasn't like in the house or anything like that, but um, I was invited up on panel because I do know some stuff about that case, right? So we were talking about it, and it just really sparked my interest again. And so I've been deep diving into that one. And hey, Mark Klein, good to see ya. I've been deep diving into that one and just absorbing so much, but that one is really complex and there's a lot of layers to it. It's more than just the murders and then the Lutz family. There's a whole lot more to it. So that's the second one we're going to do. But the first one again is Candace Montgomery, and it's going to be especially and what's the word I'm looking for? Especially dedicated to Team Psych Ward because she asked me to do that case. And she hardly ever requests any cases, but she had asked me about it a while back, and then the other day she asked me again, and I promised her that I would. So that whole case is going to be dedicated to Team Psych Ward. I'm doing it for her special. Oh, thank you, Amelia. Yes, DTC Primetime, Amityville. Good to see ya. There's a lot of stuff, about that case that I knew some of it, but then since I've been looking more into it, um, there's a lot of stuff that I didn't know, and there's some stuff that I had forgotten. So I thought, it just that one is a really good one to deep dive because there's just so much. So that's what I decided. And if there are cases that you guys would like for me to do a deep dive into, let me know. My email is in my about section. Um, just hit me up or leave a comment underneath this live if you're watching now. I hardly ever go back and watch my lives because I I don't really like my voice, so I hardly ever watch it. But if you comment after the live is over with the one you think of, then, that would be the best way to do it, and if you're watching the replay, obviously, if you, uh, have a suggestion, leave it in the comments. I'll get it. Um, even if it doesn't show up, this is the thing that I've, learned about the YouTube. YouTube is notorious for, um, deleting comments for no reason, like none, okay? So, um, but anyway, even if they delete the comment, this is what's weird about it. Even if they delete it, it will still show up in my notifications. It just won't let me respond to it. I have no idea why they do it. It's annoying to me. I don't know like what their damage is and why they do it, but yeah, they just do it. It's just rude. Okay. So, the trial that was thinking that we should talk about and cover is taking place now. It's current. Um, it is the state of Missouri versus Rebecca Rudd. Hold on just a second. Let me do this real quick. So this is an interesting trial. Okay. This is a bench trial. Okay, and that's why I wanted to do this one because there's another one going on in Missouri too, but that one is also it's not also. It's a child, but it's a younger child and it's a special needs child case, and those really pull, children pull at the heartstrings. And I wanted to cover that one too, but I thought that this would be really interesting for us to cover because it is a bench trial. And I just super I've never actually seen a bench trial. And I always think about, like, what if I were ever charged with a crime and I had to go on trial, right? And I've always sort of thought, I almost think it would be better to have a bench trial than a jury trial because a judge isn't going to be swayed by emotions. It's going to be straight the letter of the law. And especially if it is a complex case. I think sometimes it's more advantageous to go and have a bench trial, but I've never actually seen one, and I don't know if you guys have either. So I thought this would be a good one to cover. Okay, so this is the trial. This is what it's about. A Missouri woman is on trial for allegedly murdering her biological daughter. All right. The case is against Rebecca, I think it's Rudd, 39. All right. So, daughter Savannah Leckie grew up in Minnesota with her adoptive parents, but moved in with Rudd at the woman's 81-acre farm property. Colleagues at the Theodosia Area Volunteer Fire Department remembered her warmly as a junior firefighter, but her life with her biological mother was allegedly hell. Rudd abused her, literally putting salt and alcohol in her wounds, officials said, according to the Springfield News Leader. Rudd also made Lecky roll in a pig pen and bathe in a muddy pond, officials have said. Lecky was special needs diagnosed with ADHD and with high-functioning autism. Her adoptive mother, Tamil Lecky Montague, told the news leader. Later, she developed behavioral issues as a teenager and was diagnosed with depression. Rudd allegedly contacted the fire department on July 18, 2017, to put out a fire on her property. She was later arrested at a Greyhound bus station in Springfield, Missouri, after she purchased a ticket to Kansas City. She and her husband, Robert Pete Jr., who is not Savannah's biological father, were indicted for first-degree murder, second-degree murder, abuse or neglect of a child resulting in death, abandonment of a corpse, and tampering with physical evidence. But Pete's defense has offered his testimony against Rudd. So that's the trial that we will be watching. So, yeah. Hey, like and Legion, what's going on? So, yeah, I just, hey, Sugar Beet. While I was reading that, some people snuck in. So that's the trial we're going to do. Because I just, hey, Max 2002. Yeah, so this one's going to be a toughie. Hey, Rachel Townsend, good to see you too. Y'all are all coming in. Yay. So, yeah, so this is the one we're going to do. So let me, tonight we're just going to take it easy because your girl is out of practice. It's not even, I say I'm already doing it wrong. Your girl's out of practice. And so, we're just going to do the opening statements tonight. And then I will, go through, all of the other, the trial testimony, because today was day number 2, and I'll just get the highlights for you guys. That'll make it easier on all of us. So let me do what I need to do over here and add it to the stream and fix this layout right quick. And let me hit play, but let me also search real quick. All right.
The indictment in this case charged that
hold on a sec.
Committed these offenses on September. The defense information. The motion and the second motion we have, Your Honor, is a request for leave to file a substitute information in lieu of indictment. In that motion, Your Honor, we're requesting the state has filed a substitute.
Thank you for joining membership. Yay. Oh, you sent a raid over here. Wow, Lycan, I feel special. Let's see. Hold on a second. Welcome to the Fall Club, Rachel. All right. So let me speed this up a little bit because I don't know exactly when it gets to the whole. These are just some motions and whatnot. But again, let's just hear what he has to say. This is a defense attorney, I believe. All right, here we go.
Information or proposed substitute information, and we would ask that the court show that information as filed and arraign the defendant on that information in lieu of indictment. Originally, Your Honor, the indictment in this case charged that the defendant committed these offenses on July 18th, 2017. All those charges had that same offense date of July 18th, 2017. And the indictment alleged that the victim in this case, Savannah Lecky, was killed by unknown means. The proposed substitute information tracks with the evidence.
Congratulations and thank you for being a member for 5 months, Max 2002. I appreciate it.
July 18, 2017 and July 20th, 2017.
Well,
and also provides.
I'm just going to turn this down because this is just motions.
she was killed by unknown means.
And
proposed substitute information alleges that she was.
Here's the deal. I don't think this attorney thought about the way that the hairdo would look from being filmed from behind.
Under Rule 23.08.
It honestly reminds me of Ed Grimm. Do you guys remember that?
Don't you know?
When the evidence comes up just a little bit different from the information or indictment, as long as there are no new offenses charged and no prejudice is asserted by there's no prejudice found.
That's who it looks like. It reminds me of Ed Grimm.
The court can permit this filing of that substitute information.
And Your Honor, we would actually object to the state's.
Oh, that's the prosecutor. My bad.
This case, of course, has been pending since August of 2017, and it was now just amended kind of on the eve of trial. One of the concerns here, of course, if a defendant's substantial rights are not there by prejudice under Rule 2308. Here, I think we actually have a different situation. Whenever this was charged by unknown means.
Okay, I'm going to have to skip forward a little bit. Let's see.
Day, when they both responded to the residence. And the court's going to see photographs of that.
Hold on.
Tamil and Savannah kept in touch, and Tamil talked to Rebecca.
Hold on.
Eventually,
I think we're getting there.
And brought her to Ozark separation. Tamil and David, a lot of cutting occurred. I expect you'll hear from David, as many people with David and Tamil until about eventually adopted. Could not have.
I'm so distracted by his hair.
No child. She was a typical.
I thought maybe you were going to say, "Oh, you forgot about witness so-and-so." I don't think that was in that picture.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to turn him up now.
Thank you, Your Honor. Savannah Frances Lee Leckie. She was a typical teenage girl with
the audio is terrible.
That ultimately led to a horrifying and tragic end that no person, especially no child, should ever have to experience.
Right. This is Missouri versus Rebecca Rudd. It might be rude. I'm waiting for them to say her name so that I can pronounce her name correctly, but it's Ruud.
In rural Ozark County between July 18th, and July 20th, 2017. I expect this court, Your Honor, will hear that Savannah was born on June 3rd, 2001 to the defendant, Rebecca Ruud. Various witnesses will tell you that Miss Ruud thought she was not fit to be a mother.
Oh, rude.
And
there we
go. Sometime before Savannah's birth, her mom met Tamil Leckie Monte, and a friendship was established between the two. Tamil and her then husband, David Leckie, could not have children on their own. And so Savannah was born, and I expect that you're going to hear that through a long and convoluted process, Tamil and David eventually adopted Savannah as their own child. And they even took in Savannah's half-sister, Michaela. You'll hear about how Savannah lived in Minnesota with David and Tamil until about 2016, the later half of 2016, when she was 15 years old. I expect you'll hear in 2010, David and Tamil separated, as many people do. Many marriages end in divorce and separation, and Savannah, being a typical teenage girl, began to act out. And I expect you'll hear from Tamil and other witnesses that Savannah was on the autism spectrum. And she would also cut herself. And a lot of this occurred, a lot of cutting occurred because of what was going on in her home life. Eventually,
I was looking for a wedding ring. Now, surely his wife didn't let him walk out of the house looking like that. I hadn't heard about this either,
They believe they had
Rachel.
exhausted all options and worked out an agreement with Savannah and David. David owed child support to Tamil due to the separation, and Tamil would pay a portion of that child support to the defendant.
What?
You'll hear that the defendant herself went up to Minnesota, picked up Savannah, and brought her to Ozark County in late 2016. And you'll hear that Tamil and Savannah kept in touch, and Tamil talked to Rebecca. Eventually, something changed, and Savannah was reported missing on July 20th of 2017. Now, how I expect the state will present its case in its evidence in this case, it will first be a broad overview of the case. The state expects to present the testimony of now former Sheriff Darren Reed. Sheriff Reed will tell you about how he was at a training, I believe, in Columbia, Missouri, on July 20th, when he received a phone call about a juvenile child, Savannah, in the area of Theodosia. I expect Sheriff Reed, being the chief law enforcement officer for Ozark County, rushed back from Columbia in record time to go to the location where the child was reported missing. That's the defendant's farm in rural Ozark County. Now, Sheriff Reed gets his two most experienced deputies to work on this case, Chief Deputy Winston Collins and Deputy Curtis Dobbs, who are both now with the Christian County Sheriff's Office. I expect Sheriff Reed will give you some background information about this very, very rural part of Ozark County, the property itself.
It is. Let me slow
and we'll
him
tell you
down
about
just
his
a little
involvement in
bit.
the case, where he was present for numerous search warrants executed on the property, which ultimately culminated in the discovery of
I can't
human
handle
remains
the
in a burn
audio.
pile
Like,
on August 4th,
who's
2017.
breathing into the mic?
And the court's going to see photographs of that burn pile and the process by which it was disassembled. Sheriff Reed will tell you he immediately knew when he got there on July 20th, 2017, that there was no way that Savannah could have left this remote and large piece of property that was in the ruralest parts of this state.
I don't
Next,
know. All that's
I
missing
expect
is a
you'll
big
learn
bow.
that before July 20th, there was a fire
And he would have the total
at defendant's
snooky.
farm that raged out of control on July 18th. You'll hear that the defendant herself was actually a volunteer firefighter, and she knew she was supposed to call sheriff's office if there was a fire like this. But instead, she called everyone but the sheriff's office. She called several members of the various fire departments that she worked with. They were dispatched and they helped put out the fire, and you'll hear from some of those firefighters. Now, I expect you'll hear that some of the firefighters knew Savannah. After all, the defendant was a volunteer firefighter, and they wanted to check on her well-being that day on the 18th. But the defendant would not let
Happy
them
birthday to
anywhere
both
near
of you, Rachel
the
and
camper
Amelia.
trailer on the property where Savannah lived. You'll hear that it was an intensely hot day in July, much like it is now, and that they wanted water, which would have brought them close to the camper trailer. And the defendant refused their request for water and would not let them see Savannah that day. You'll hear that none of the firefighters actually checked Savannah for any injuries that day. The defendant told everyone that Savannah was naked in a sealed up camper trailer that had no electricity on a sweltering summer's day. You'll hear from Robert Pete Jr., the defendant's then boyfriend and later husband.
Oh, dear.
Pete Jr. was with his father, Pete Sr., on that day when they both responded to the residence. Pete Jr. was one of the persons that received a phone call from the defendant on July 18th. And his dad was a volunteer firefighter, so they headed out to the defendant's residence. Pete Sr. tended to some physical injuries, some burns that the defendant had on that day. And while Pete Jr. helped rake out the fire, snuff out the fire that day, the fire department left. Pete Jr. stayed behind to be with his girlfriend, the defendant. Pete Jr., I expect, will tell you that Savannah was last seen the next day.
Oh, you're
July
welcome,
19th.
Amelia.
Very late into the evening, chasing fireflies on the hill, that it must have been 11 o'clock at night. And that there was an argument between the defendant and Savannah about some homework that had not been done.
In
and
July?
that Savannah went to the bed in the camper trailer, and she was never seen again until August 4th, 2017, when what was left of her was discovered in a burn pile.
Oh.
Savannah would be reported missing late the next morning on July 20th. You will hear about the extensive efforts that the Ozark County Sheriff's Office went to find Savannah and the defendant's insistence that she ran away. The search was extensive. Officers from many different agencies, Highway Patrol, the Sheriff's Office, Arkansas, were all there, and civilians and a helicopter and a fixed-wing aircraft were brought in, all to no avail.
Well, I mean, we've heard
Because the
from
defendant knew where she was all
Wisconsin
along,
and
in that
Florida
burn pile
and all the
that was
craziness.
discovered.
Here
on
comes
August 4th,
Missouri.
2017. You will hear, and how do we know this?
What?
You'll hear from the defendant herself admitting.
Your Honor, we will need to object to where he is beginning to go in his opening statement. He's going to talk about a recording, and we need to, for the record, object to this recording being brought in as that it is
Brought in as evidence.
that it's brought in as evidence, but that it's also that it is we believe it's still protected, and we have to argue that.
Obviously, Judge, my response to that is the Missouri State Supreme Court has said otherwise.
Overruled.
Thank you.
Oh, dear.
You'll hear the defendant
Right out
herself
the
admit
gate.
to burning Savannah's body.
I will make that a continuing objection and then anytime
No, babe, that's not who this is. This happened in 2017.
Stop every time.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor. You'll hear that the defendant herself admits to burning Savannah Lecky's body. So the defendant got a lawyer after many searches were conducted on her property. Now, obviously, everybody has a right to an attorney. There's no disputing that. But for whatever reason, the defendant made a poor decision and brought a recording device with her to the office of the Missouri State Public Defender.
Is the audio better than this
and
trial
recorded the
audio?
conversation with two members of that office, and you will hear that
Oh,
conversation.
hold on,
That that Savannah.
y'all. Now I know this is petty, and this has nothing to do with what we're supposed to be focused on. But I was not prepared for plum pants. Not prepared. Yikes.
Died as a result of taking drugs, according to the defendant, and that she came across her dead body and burned it. But that's only partially true, Your Honor. That's the defendant's story. What really happened, as I expect on the last day of trial, is we expect to present 3 separate women that were all housed with the defendant at some point in time during the pendency of this case in the Taney and Ozark County jails.
Oh, they got
One of
jailhouse
these women,
snitches.
Kathy Hill,
Ooh.
has never met the other 2 women. You'll also hear from Sarah Johnson and Jessica Wallen, who were housed with the defendant in the Ozark County jail. Ms. Wallen will tell you that the defendant
I never can figure
admitted
that out, Mark, so I
she
quit
had
trying.
crushed up pills and put them in a drink, likely Kool-Aid or something similar. Sarah Johnson will tell you about how the defendant told her she wasn't getting money, the child support, and that she was supposed to be getting that money, and that she wasn't going to lose her farm because of some, quote, bratty kid, along with some other unprompted comments about holding someone down in a fire.
Oh, dear.
Finally, you'll hear from Kathy. Kathy Hilton, all of these people are not very good, Your Honor. They're convicted felons. The state admits that. They were in jail for one reason or another. And you'll hear from Kathy
thank you, Molson.
that on the night of the 19th, the defendant drugged Savannah with hydrocodone that she had gotten in the days before due to her injuries
Hey,
on her
Charlie,
arm.
good to see you, babe.
And that the defendant thought she was dead, thought Savannah was dead, and brought her body to the burn pile to dispose of the evidence. And Kathy Hilton will tell you that the defendant admitted to her to throwing Savannah's body in the burn pile. She wasn't dead. She woke up screaming. And that during this screaming, the defendant hit her with a rake or other type of long-handled implement until she could scream no more. And after all of that, all that was left of Savannah was a bag of bones.
Oh,
And
that's
after you
sad.
hear all of the evidence presented in this case, I will ask the court to return a verdict of guilty as to murder in the first degree, as no child should ever have to suffer the same fate as Savannah Frances Lee Leckie. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court. Your Honor, this case is a tragedy. I think that is probably about the only thing that is clear and agreed upon by the state and the defense in this case. You're going to hear that Rebecca Rude gave birth to Savannah in June of 2001. You're going to hear how Rebecca, Reba, as her friends and family would call her, was abused by her mother. And when she gave birth to Savannah, that mother who had abused her kidnapped Savannah. And there was a long process. And you are going to hear that she fought to get her daughter back. And she did that so that Savannah could be adopted by Tamil and David Leckie, who she had become friends with. She got to know them. In fact, it was more than friendship. In fact, you're going to hear from Tamil. We believe you'll hear from Tamil that she was like
Hey,
sister of a
Mama
sister,
Stone,
like
good to
Tamil.
see ya.
And in fact, Savannah had 3 younger siblings that she loved.
This case is
And adored.
actually horrible.
One of them being another biological child of Reba, and that they adopted as well. And you're going to hear some information about that adoption and how it took place. You will hear how Savannah always knew that Reba was her birth mother. There was never any secret about that. Reba was in the life of Savannah all the time. You'll hear how for around 15 years, Savannah lived with Tamil in Minnesota. But during that time, family dynamics changed. There was a divorce. There was a new boyfriend that came in, then another different boyfriend that had come in. Savannah was you're going to hear that during that time, Savannah was diagnosed with ADHD and was on the autism spectrum. She was also diagnosed with depression. In fact, the defense will present evidence to show how Savannah was hospitalized at least twice for suicidal ideation due to self-harm and a plan to commit suicide.
Oh,
At least,
obviously a late trigger warning. My bad.
The last hospitalization in June of 2016, she was prescribed medications for her ADHD and depression. And Tamil did not want her released from that hospital. In fact, the defense will show that she indicated to that hospital that if Savannah was released, she would be dead. You will hear how Tamil no longer wanted Savannah to live with her, and she pushed this vulnerable and susceptible and troubled teen to live with her biological mother in Missouri. She didn't let her live with family. There were options. She didn't let her live with any of those in Minnesota. She pushed her to the farthest place she could push her. There was no plan for this to be there was no plan for this to be a successful venture. The legal authority for Reba to take care of Savannah wasn't there. It wasn't given to her until June of 2017. There was supposed to be, and I think you'll see this in text, an agreed upon amount of $250 a month that was supposed to be sent to Reba to care for Savannah, but it was rarely sent. And when it was sent, there were deductions for random things. There was no power, the power of attorney that did finally come was in June of 2017, even though it was promised early on. There was no guardianship. There was no way you will hear there was no way for Reba to take care of the child, get her the medication she needed, or any of that as far as getting medical help. She didn't have the legal authority. So part of that, what you will hear is that she was continued to be enrolled in a Minnesota online course instead of being transferred to a Missouri online schooling, because Reba couldn't do that because she didn't have that legal authority. You will hear how this experiment was supposed to be for a trial basis until Thanksgiving of 2016. But you will hear how that date came and went, and no Tamil or David. Christmas 2016 came and went, no Tamil or David. In fact, Tamil couldn't even bother to take calls from Savannah, much less after the first few months. However, even though this was a tough time for Savannah, not seeing her family in Minnesota, her grades were improving. You will see that in some text messages, I believe, and other testimony. We anticipate you will also hear how Savannah continually was let down by her Minnesota family. They would promise to come see her and then would not show up. They would promise to come in November 2016, December 2016, and then in June of 2017 for her birthday. But the days came and went, and no Tamil or David. One bright spot for Savannah during that time was she got to see her grandparents in April of 2017. And she was excited about that. She was happy. She hadn't seen anybody since she had left there. She got to see them for about a day and a half, maybe, and there was some flooding that came in, and they needed to get out of there. I think that's what you'll possibly hear. We anticipate you're going to hear that Savannah was hardworking around the farm. You'll hear that from people who knew her on the farm. She also enjoyed her time on the farm. She enjoyed the animals on the farm. She also enjoyed being a cadet on the Theodosia Fire Department. And I believe you'll hear that from the volunteer fire persons that are going to be witnesses, they enjoyed having her around. And she was a strong, able-bodied young woman that was dealing with some mental health issues. But she was not weak or disabled, as you might hear from a few of the state's witnesses. Reba has been incarcerated since August of 2017. Now, during that time, she would have come in contact with hundreds of other inmates in facilities she was housed in. Out of the hundreds of other inmates she would have been in contact during that time, only 3 have tales to tell. And you will be able to judge the credibility of those witnesses. You'll hear some fantastical stories from each of these 3 witnesses, but their stories don't align with the other witnesses who are actually there. They also don't align with the evidence. But some of what they will align with are the stories from the media that were out at that time. The state will call several law enforcement officers. We anticipate that they will all tell you how hard they worked on this case and how they investigated this fully. What we believe you will also notice, although, is that you will never hear is how from the very beginning, this was not a missing persons investigation. It was in fact a death investigation. It was about the thoughts and feelings and not evidence. And that was even said and would be quoted from Sheriff Reed in newspaper articles from the Ozark Times. Here's what you are not going to hear from the state's witnesses. You are not going to hear that Savannah was murdered. You will hear no scientific evidence as to the cause of death, the manner of death, or the actual time of death. You're going to hear admissions from Rebecca herself that she burnt Savannah's body. But that is all you're going to hear, because that is all she did. And we are going to ask at the end of this trial that you find Rebecca Reed not guilty of counts 1, 2, and 3.
Yes, Your Honor. State will call Sheriff Darren Reed. I do not.
I don't care, but
I can get Marilyn one.
this last for me, a break.
Oh.
Someone up there, or where you at? You swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I do. Go ahead and be seated.
Is this the correct spelling of your name?
Yes, D-A-R-R-I-N.
D-A-R-R-I-N. And then Reed is right. Thank you. I'm ready.
Can you state your name for the record, please?
Darren Reed.
And
Let me change this layout because I don't want there to be, oh, that's not right. There, that's better. Okay. Okay. So first of all, let's pick apart these opening statements. Now, I admit the hairdo was distracting. The plum pants or maroon pants I wasn't prepared for. It's a fashion risk. It is what it is. But what I'll say is, as far as the state goes, theirs is pretty much what I expected, just because, they're pretty, cut and dry about all of it, right? But what I thought was probably the most interesting is the direction that the defense is going in with their opening statement. Because I thought it was interesting that they decided, rather than really address the accusations, they put the adoptive parents on trial a little bit. This was in 2017, Rachel. 2017. It's been a while. So, I feel like that's an interesting approach to take. And if it were a jury hearing the evidence or hearing that opening statement, I would have said it was risky because the mother, that's her biological mother. And whatever the circumstances were that she gave her daughter up for adoption and then ended up back with her daughter or taking her daughter back when she was 16 is what it is. But to present an opening statement where you basically are calling the adoptive parents on the carpet for not paying child support or coming to see the child is would have been really a risky maneuver had this been a jury trial, in my opinion. But as far as a bench trial goes, that's why I really wanted to cover this case and not the other case that's taking place in Missouri, because that one is a jury trial, right? But this one is a bench trial, and I've never actually watched a bench trial, and I've always been fascinated by somebody picking to have a bench trial. So anyway, that's where we're at with that. So let's, I guess, hear the sheriff here and see what he has to say, what he saw, what he knows. All right.
Mr. Reed, what is your current position?
I am retired. I own my own business and I also deal in real estate.
In July 2017, how were you employed?
I was the sheriff of Ozark County,
How long were you the sheriff of Ozark County?
2 terms,
Okay, so 8 years?
8 years.
And
No,
do you
she's
recall some events
sitting.
in
Hold
July
on,
and
let me
August
push
of
pause.
2017?
I don't know.
Yes, I do.
She's sitting, she's the third chair from the woman in the red. Then there is the woman in the, I think she's wearing like a black sweater. And then Rebecca is the third person down from that. She's shorter. So that's who that is. When they get
And
back
why
to
do
her,
you
I'll
recall those
point it
dates?
out.
There was a missing child in Ozark County in the Theodosia area.
Okay. And do you recall receiving a phone call about a missing child in Ozark County sometime around that those dates?
Oh, you're
I
welcome,
was
Olsen.
in Columbia, Missouri, and I received a call from my chief deputy that said there was a child missing, and I left Columbia immediately to come back.
All right. And do you recall what date you got that phone call?
July 20th, 2017.
And did you immediately leave Columbia and get down to Ozark County?
Yes,
All right. How long did it take you to get there?
probably 2.5 hours.
All right. And where was the location that you responded to?
It was on the west side of Theodosia, on a county road. I don't recall the county road number.
Is that in Ozark County, Missouri?
Yes,
All right. And is this a very rural and remote location?
yes, it is. It's very remote.
Could you describe it to the judge?
Whenever I got to the scene, I know I went through a gate, and the barn probably a quarter mile off of the road, off of the county road.
And is this a place that has electricity?
I didn't see no electricity.
Okay. Running water and sewage?
There was a well that had to be turned on by generator.
All right. And for the purposes of our questioning here today, is it okay with you if we refer to this as the Rood Farm?
Yes.
All right. And can you tell us what you did when you first got to the Rood Farm on July 20th of 2017?
Whenever I first got there, we had several responders, first responders that showed up, and we started conducting, it was an 80-acre farm, and we started conducting a search of the whole property.
Okay. And can you describe those search efforts that were undertaken by you and your office and on that day?
We walked it. The first day we walked it. It was about 103 degrees, and the guys just walked. We formed a line and just walked through the woods.
How many agencies were involved in this search?
That was our county sheriff's department. I had the Missouri State Highway Patrol come in and Theodosia first responders.
And did you assign some particular deputies to investigate Savannah's disappearance?
Yes, Chief Deputy Winston Collins and Deputy Curtis Dobbs.
And was a helicopter used on that day to search for
Mark.
Savannah?
I'm sorry.
Hey,
Was a helicopter used on that day?
Yes.
Good to see you,
I'm in
babe.
contact with Lieutenant Rick Lucy with the Mountain Home Sheriff's Department, Baxter County Sheriff's Department. And they assisted us by bringing their helicopter up and they flew the area. Also, I used one of my deputies as a pilot. He's got a plane and he also flew over the area.
And were your search efforts at all successful in locating Savannah on that
No.
day?
No, it was not.
And when I say Savannah, is that the missing juvenile that y'all were looking for on that day?
Yes,
Savannah Leckie?
yes,
All right. And did you go back out to the property on July 25th?
It's
Yeah.
been a long time, you guys.
Was another search
Hey,
of that
Vincent's
property
missing
conducted on
ear.
that day?
Yeah.
Did
Good
were
to
some
see
cadaver
you.
dogs brought out on July 25th?
yes.
And what was the weather like? Do you recall?
It was humid. It was anywhere from 100 to 103 degrees.
Mm-mm.
Right.
I don't miss those days. That's
And
too
was
hot.
that search at all successful on that day? On the 25th?
Without looking at notes, I can't remember if that's the day that I found Savannah or if it was the day or the next time after that.
Okay.
Well, then great. We all have something to look forward to, Max.
But you went out to the property on a later date, right?
Yes.
Several times.
Yeah.
All right.
I love it when we all come full circle. That's her right there, Molson.
Do you recall going out to the property
That's
again on
Rebecca.
July 27th?
There were several days we went out there, yes. I looked over the report and July 27th was the day we was out there.
Okay. Was that a day where you received consent to search from the defendant?
Yes,
And was the entirety of the property once again searched on that day?
yes.
And was anything located, was the missing juvenile located on the 27th?
No,
All right. I'm going to direct your attention to August 4th of 2017. You remember August 4th?
Yeah.
All right. And was this, do you recall why? Did you
Yes,
recall if it
Vincent's
went to
missing
the,
ear.
Property again on
Yes.
August 4th?
yes.
And why did you go to the property on August 4th?
The investigation started to turn a little bit then from a missing person to maybe something else. I just had the feeling that this investigation was turning. And that's whenever I told Deputy Dobbs to try to secure a search warrant because I didn't think Miss Rude would let us back on the property.
All right. And did Deputy Dobbs manage to secure a search warrant?
Yes, he did.
All right. And were you part of that team that went out there to serve that search warrant?
Yes, I was.
And when you arrived to the property that day, was the property locked up?
Yes, the gate was locked with the padlock on it, and I had Deputy, I think it was Tiffany Neal, call Miss Rude. Finally got her on the phone, and she said she'd be up the gate a little bit, and she wasn't going to allow us on the property.
So was there an attempt to get a consent search done that day?
Yes, there was.
And Miss Rude didn't provide her consent,
No, she did not.
but you still have the search warrant, correct?
Yes,
You
All right.
were
And
lucky.
so
Mark.
was the padlock opened by Miss Rude or did it, or someone
Your
else?
Honor, I think I'm gonna object. I mean, he's kind of let this go for a while, but he just keeps leading the witness. He's telling the story instead of letting the witness tell the story. I think that's what we're supposed to do.
Your Honor, I'm not leading the witness. The questions I'm asking do not suggest an answer.
No, they give the answer. It's not suggested.
Well, they do
Oh,
kinda
dear.
suggest the answer, Mr. Brown, he's just answering yes or no to, is that what happened next versus the other way is, well, how did you get on the property?
Judge, I'll rephrase the question.
Okay.
Yes. Did you enter the property that day?
Yes,
Can you tell us how you got on the property?
I executed a search warrant.
Okay. Did you forcibly get on the property or did someone let you in?
Well, I have a master key, which is bolt cutters, and she decided to unlock the gate and let us in with the search warrant.
Were there cadaver dogs present on that day?
Pardon?
Were there cadaver dogs present for that search
Yes.
warrant? And were there, how many people were there for this search, for the execution of the search warrant?
We had several members from my staff. We had 3 members from the Missouri State Highway Patrol and first responders.
Did you divide those people up into teams?
Yes,
And were they assigned to search different locations?
yes.
And where did you go that day?
You know, I was in a side-by-side with my chief deputy, and I had him drop me off at the bottom of a hill, and I walked back in through the woods.
And there are many hills on this property?
Oh, yes.
Okay. And do you recall, strength that. Do you know if the cadaver dogs ever hit on anything?
Again, I'm gonna object. He's asking him questions about what is happening instead of asking him to tell he's giving him the answer to
I'm
the
not
question.
giving him the answers, Mr.
I'll
Duvall.
overrule that one. It's unlike the gate one. This is a little bit different.
Do you know if the cadaver dogs ever hit anywhere on the property?
Yes, they did.
Okay, and can you tell us about that?
I'll tell you the whole thing. I was walking through the woods. I knelt down and prayed, like I do often. I got up and I walked up to this opening, and I seen a great big cedar pile. And I just stood there at the edge, just kind of watching the things that surroundings. And I seen a cadaver dog coming down the hill. The cadaver dog went up to the cedar pile. He pawed the cedar pile and then sat and stared at me for a couple minutes and then run off. Joe Marcello, the owner of the cadaver dog, come walking down the hill, and I walked up to him and I said, "What will your dog do when it hits on gets a strong hit?" He said he'll paw at
Right.
it.
I will stop you right there.
Okay. Ask another question.
Yes. Did you see the dogs react in some way?
Yes,
Okay. And after the dog reacted, was another dog brought in?
yes,
And did you see that dog react in some way?
yes.
All right. And at that point, could you describe this pile that you saw?
It was a very, very large, fresh green cedar that had been piled up pretty high. I had the
Hey,
crew
navigator.
measure the circumference of the pile and also the height of the pile.
Well, if you clean it, why don't you come
And
on over
do you
here and
recall
clean
how
for
high-
me?
How high was that pile?
I don't recall how high it was. I know it was a big pile.
Okay.
My house is clean. I just really need the vacuum run, if you wouldn't mind. Be a lamb, navigator, and come vacuum my flows. Oh, the audio is just, it's an affront to all of my senses. Yikes, what's a beefed up Steve Wilkos doing in the courtroom?
Sheriff Reed, I'm going to approach and show you what I've marked as State's Exhibit 24. You recognize that?
Yes, I do.
All right, what is that?
That is a pile of cedar.
Okay, was that the pile from the search on this day?
Yes, it was.
Was that the pile where the dogs reacted?
Yes, it was.
All right. At this time, Judge, I'm going to move to admit State's Exhibit 24 into evidence.
Your Honor, I'm going to object. I don't believe he's got the foundation on that photograph.
Is this a fair and accurate representation of that cedar pile on that day?
Yes, it was.
At this time, I'll move to admit State's Exhibit 24.
Now, I will say one of the downfalls or whatever of having a bench trial is that they just hand the evidence to the judge. So they don't publish it for the jury, i.e. us. So I don't know what all evidence we'll actually see at this point. I like how she gets up. She reminds me of Chazzle Dazzle's lawyer. I'm going to have to object. Or
Okay.
I think I'm going to have to
I'm sure when
object.
it's marked as State's
Like she's
Exhibit
not sure.
25, can you tell us what that's a photo of?
That's a photo. I instructed Deputy Dobbs to take photographs of everything that was going on. And that is Sergeant Warren Wiedemann holding the tape measure up high. This is another Highway Patrol female that was there assisting him.
Okay. And is this to show how tall this cedar pile was?
Yes,
And is this a fair and accurate representation of that cedar pile on that day?
yes, it is.
All right. At this time, State will move to admit State's Exhibit 25.
Be admitted.
All right. Can you tell us about the, was that cedar pile disassembled?
Yes, it was.
All right. Could you tell us about the process of disassembling that cedar pile?
Okay, I instructed, there was about 6 of us. And I got in there along with them, and we removed the cedar off, to another location.
Okay. And was it preserved at another location?
Yes,
And was this, what was the purpose in disassembling the cedar pile?
We like
I-
Jenga. Oh, no. Sorry.
I had a feeling that we would have something there at the bottom of that cedar pile.
Was something located at the bottom of the cedar pile?
Yes, it was.
Can you tell us what was located?
There was a ash burn that was probably 6 foot in length and 4 foot in width.
Yes, Christine, we like
We'll show you what
work.
I've marked as
He
State's
reminds
Exhibit
me of
23.
Ed Grimm.
You recognize
You know, Martin
that?
Short used to play him on Saturday
Can you
Night
tell us
Live.
what that is?
Don't you
That
know?
was at the bottom of the burn pile, the ash.
And that's that ash pile you were referring to?
Yes,
And are you in that photograph?
I think that is my feet right there.
Is that with a walking stick?
Yes,
All right. Is that a fair and accurate representation of the ash pile on that day?
yes.
All right. At this time, Judge, we would move to admit State's Exhibit 26.
Hey, AJ, good to see you, babe.
When you got to the bottom of the ash pile,
Max, was
Uh,
it about the
did
dogs,
you locate
babe?
any objects?
Yes, it did.
All right. Could you tell us about that?
We had looked around there. I think Sergeant Warren Wiedemann had looked and was kind of determined that there
Was it
wasn't
Grimley?
much there.
My bad.
And it was a hot day and the cadaver dogs, they needed to use them in other locations. I had a walking stick because of a recently broken back and also broken neck. So I had a walking stick I was using out in the woods that day. And Deputy Dobbs was standing
Oh,
beside
thank you,
me.
AJ.
I
Hold on, I'm
picked
going
up
to
the
pause that real
stick
quick.
And
So this is Missouri versus Rebecca Rude. She is on trial for allegedly murdering her 16-year-old special needs daughter, Savannah. This is just the very first day of testimony. Did I say it happened in 2017? It took place, the crime took place in 2017, and this is a bench trial. So there's no jury. That's why I wanted to cover this one, just because I'm fascinated by bench trials. It's a little selfish. I'm sorry.
Put it down into the ash and not top a bone.
Something you recognized as a bone?
Yes.
All right. Yeah. And did you say anything to Deputy Dobbs when you?
Neither
when you
had
noticed
I,
that?
AJ. That's why I was like, oh, wait a
I'm
minute.
sorry. Good. I asked Deputy Dobbs to, I said, what's that look like to you?
Okay, babe. So we'll
Okay,
wait
you're
for the
not telling
next
me what he
witness.
said. Did you recognize it as anything?
Yes.
All right, what do you recognize it as?
I recognized it as a bone.
All right. So you-
Vincent.
Let me show you what I've marked as States Exhibit 27. Can you identify that for us, please?
Those were bones.
Okay, multiple bones?
Yes.
And were those located in the ash pile on that day?
Yes, they were.
And did Deputy Dobbs package those up for evidence?
Yes, he did.
Okay. And as far as you know, were those eventually sent off for some sort of analysis?
Yes. I know we took a picture of the bone that I found and sent it to an anthropologist.
Okay. And is this a fair and accurate representation of those bones you found on that day?
Yeah.
All right. At this time, Judge, State will move to admit States Exhibit 27.
No objection.
No.
Be admitted.
Yes. Were there any other objects found other than bones?
Yes, it was.
Can you tell us what else was located?
We found a button, a jean button.
Okay.
I think it was a ducky button, I believe.
I'm going to show you what I've marked as States Exhibit 28. Can you identify that for us, please?
That is the button we found in the pile.
Okay. Is that a fair and accurate representation of that button that was found in the pile on that day?
Yes, it is.
All right. At this time, we'll move to admit States Exhibit 28.
No objection.
Be admitted.
Oh, what you doing, Your Honor? It's like everybody's like delayed.
I'm going to show you what I've marked as States Exhibit 29.
The audio guy is just is
identify that for
almost
us,
there. The camera guy is
Yes,
almost there.
That,
There's no
pretty
jury.
sure
Why
that,
are we looking at the
pretty
back
finger
of
bone.
people?
Was that from the burn pile?
Yep.
All right. Is that a fair and accurate representation of that finger bone,
Yes, it is.
or what you believe to be a finger bone?
Vincent's
All right.
missing here. It's
From that burn
Theodosia
pile?
County.
All right. I want to move to admit States Exhibit 29.
No objection.
Be admitted.
Yeah, it's like everybody's going to be there in a second. Oh, Max, thank you. You didn't have to do that. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, babe. Thank you very much. Allie. It does kind of look like her from the back. So is Theodosia
Jeffrey,
County like super? I mean, it was a farm, so I'm assuming it's super rural.
Did you have occasion to be in Springfield, Missouri in September 2017 and attempt to arrest the defendant?
Yeah.
Could you tell us about that?
I got information that.
Oh, hang on. I just want to point this out because this made me realize something. So, at the same time as this is happening in this part of Missouri, Gypsy Rose Blanchard is about to pull her shenanigans with Nicholas Godejohn in up, in Springfield. At the same time, there's about to be a Facebook post.
Her
Not-
and her
Yeah, in 2017.
new husband was leaving the area. I contacted Springfield CID division and told them what I had and that she was going to be at the Greyhound bus station.
Yes, AJ. Yes.
And
In fact, let me
put two undercover,
hit up the Googles to
detectives inside
get
bus
the
station,
exact date.
And me and my chief deputy stayed out in the weeds.
It's been a while since I looked at that
Okay.
case. I've kind of
And,
blocked it out of my brain.
Did you observe the defendant enter the bus station?
Yes,
All right. And was the defendant arrested at that time?
yes, I placed her under arrest for the charges.
Okay. Was she placed on a 24-hour hold at that time?
Yeah.
Did she make any statements prior to when she was approached by law enforcement?
The only thing she said to me was, what am I charged with?
Okay. And did you advise her of any charges?
Yeah.
What did you advise her of?
Murder.
And anything after that?
It was a pretty quiet ride from Springfield to Janesville.
And did she have anything in her possession?
Oh, I
when she
lied. It was
arrested?
2015.
Do you recall what those
My bad.
things were?
Luggage.
Wait, that's
was
not
just
right,
like
is
all
it?
her
Yeah.
personal belongings.
Did one of your deputies seize those items from her upon her arrest?
Yeah.
Hold on. Yeah, June 2015. So this was 2 years after.
This
My
time,
bad.
Judge will pass the witness.
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you going to be asking those questions sometime today?
Mr. Reed.
Okay.
I want to
Sorry.
get into a little bit, the state, I don't believe got into some things that I want to ask some questions about. And is it okay if I call you Mr. Reed?
That's fine.
Okay.
We like to
And
keep
so one of the
be
things that I wanna
respectful of
ask
the
you
court's
about is,
time,
I
ma'am.
don't believe that they got into whether you had any training or experience as law enforcement.
Yes, I have.
And what was that?
I've been trained by the FBI as a major crime scene investigator and also reconstructionist. I've had the law enforcement training through the Missouri Sheriff's Association in every core area that is required. I've been certified through Glenn Foster in Columbus, Ohio as a interviewer. Also, phonetic interviewing.
Oh, wow, Molson man.
I'm also an advanced certified computer voice stress analysis examiner. I'm just trained in several fields. I don't know, probably 4,500 hours of specialized training.
So to begin all of that training, where did you begin your career?
I began my career at the Howe County Sheriff's Department as a deputy whenever I turned 21 years old. That was 1984.
Okay. And at that time, did you go to schooling to become a law enforcement
Yes,
officer?
I did.
Okay. So throughout all this training that you've talked about, were you trained on
Since missing
writing
here.
reports,
Yes.
making sure those were accurate?
Yes.
The importance of accuracy
Yes.
in writing reports. Okay. And so I want to kind of go then to, I'm going to go ahead and jump to July 20th. Now, did you take the initial call of the missing person, or were you called by someone?
Chief Deputy Winston Collins, I think no, I take that back. I think Deputy Nick Jones took the initial call. And then,
Oh,
he
no,
contacted,
AJ, hope you feel
Deputy
better
Collins
soon,
to
babe.
respond to the scene, who in turn called
I
me.
love how you're
Okay, did he
referring
call
to
you
it,
from the
though.
scene?
Yes.
You know, I love the thee and
so
the
you
and,
said-
and
I think
making
you said you
things
were in
plural.
Columbia, so it took you a couple hours to get back to
Yeah.
Ozark County.
Yes,
Okay.
Like the
And
Walmart.
did you go straight to the property, the Rude property?
yes, I did.
And so was the search already started by the
Yes,
time you got there?
yes.
Okay.
I don't think so,
And
Ally.
so
Not that I
Did
can
you
say.
just join in the search, or what did you do?
I just joined in on the search, trying to find Savannah.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about what you did during that search?
Just walking through the woods and the fields and looking at everything, under everything, trying to find her.
On that date, did you look through well, let me ask you this. There's a structure, a building on that property, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And then there's also a camper on that property. Okay. Did you look through the camper?
I don't think I was involved in the search of, the camper or the building until later, a few days.
I hope it
later
is
or
Vinnie
a couple days
Polish
later.
and trying to find you, Ally.
So as far as you know, all the search was walking the property?
Yes,
So no one did search inside those buildings?
yes, deputies, I believe, looked inside the building.
Okay. And that would have been important to have in a report if they had looked inside the building, correct?
Yeah,
So then I want to talk about, looks like
Oh, bless your heart, AJ.
From
I'm
the
so
police
sorry,
report.
babe.
that was provided to us that, the next time you were on the property, was July 24th. Do you have a dispute about that? So we were starting to start at the 20th.
Hey, Heather, whatever. Good
And
to
then
see you,
there's 4
babe.
days, and that's the next time that you were on the property.
This was 5 years ago,
Mhm.
Miss Ma'am. Cut him some slack.
I wanted to think that we was on that property to begin with every day. I'd have to look at the reports and see.
So if the reports don't reflect that, do you have some reason to think that the reports are wrong?
If the report says we wasn't not there, then we was not there.
Well, I'm talking just about you specifically, not the others.
You know what, I can't testify to that. I know we was there, on July the 20th. I know we was there the next day. And
Okay,
probably-
again, like I said, though, I'm not asking about we, I'm just
Yeah.
asking about you. I know, I
Me.
have questions for the
Me.
other officers, yeah.
Me.
So just for, okay, so you believe you were there the next
Yeah.
day? Okay.
Wow, she's really spicy. You cleared your throat, and for what, ma'am? It's been 82 seconds and you haven't said anything. What are you doing over there? Are you frustrated, Judge?
So I want to go, from what there's a
Lord.
lab report that says that you individually were there any other days other than the 20th and then going to the 24th.
You know, Counselor, I have to tell you that I was focused on trying to find a missing 16-year-old girl. And whether there's a report that I was out there.
We
walking
missed
through
you
the
too,
woods, I
Heather.
don't have
I
any
missed all
idea.
of you guys.
So,
I can't testify to that.
okay, but it wouldn't be, again, wouldn't that be something that is important to have in a report?
Your Honor, ask an answer.
Wow.
I was focused on finding Savannah, and whether somebody put it in a report or not, do not have a clue. Whether I put it in a report or not, I do not have a clue, so it may not be in a report.
Okay. On July 24th, which in the
Hey,
report is the
Anita,
next
how you
time
doing,
that you were
babe? Good to
indicated
see
being out.
ya.
So that's what we're gonna jump to.
Okay.
Did you go out on the property that day? Did you walk around the property that day?
Yes.
Yeah, don't
And
do it,
can you
Allie.
tell us a little bit about what you did on the 24th?
Just delete it and move on.
Yeah, I tell you.
Oh, thank you, Heather. Whatever.
I'm sure it was just searching. I think that's.
I'm
when we
glad
started,
I've missed you
There was
guys.
beacon burns throughout the property. I know the backside of the property was searched, real heavily. I know there was a neighbor that lived way back behind her, probably I never measured it, but it was quite a ways, and I know we went back and checked with him. We checked, seems like there was a dump pile, that was on another piece of property that we searched, that we looked at.
There
And I
was
can't
no crew
remember
like
if
a
July
Racey's
24th
Cafe
was,
crew. You're
there
right
was a
about
total
that,
of 3 or
Max.
4 search warrants that was executed. There may have been, was there, can I ask if there was a search warrant executed on
You
that?
can
day?
ask, I can't tell you that, but I
Yeah.
can provide you with a copy of your report if you would like to
I would
review
really-
it.
I'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been like 5 years. He's retired. No need to be combative. Hey, Momo. Good to see you, babe. I don't think I'd like to be her co-worker, y'all. She's a little too uppity for my brand. Excuse
May I
me.
approach, Your Honor?
You may.
I mean, this, we have had some really good trials. I'm just fascinated by a bench trial.
All right.
Now
I'm
we're
gonna have you
getting
just look through that. I
to
don't
it.
want you
Now
to
they've
kind of
pulled
read
out a
off of
little
it or
bit.
talk about it. I just want
Here
to
we
kind of look
go.
through that. You can look at the dates and see what's going on. Do that, okay?
We want to take a break, but, I mean, it's like, that was like 15, 20 pages before. I don't know how quickly you'll find whatever it is you're at.
And it's 40 pages, so.
Well, why don't we take a break and let him go through the report versus every time he says, can I see the report? We don't go through.
That's fine, Your Honor.
It's fine. So let's go off the record. Let me know when you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I do it.
Okay, they're going to take a break. We're going to skip through the break.
Okay.
Lord Jesus. Court is on break. Oh, here we go. We're back. Oh. Come on.
But this was a consent search. She had actually told you that, yes, it was fine to come on the
Yes,
property. Okay.
yeah.
And during that time,
All
you
right,
talked to them.
Mo and
but did
Molson, you're
you-
in charge.
did
I'll
you
be
actually
right
look
back.
around the property, look into things,
Yeah,
that type of thing?
my deputies did.
Okay. But you yourself just talked to them, is
Yeah,
that correct?
That is
Okay.
correct.
Was there a person that, other than yourself, did you designate someone to be kind of in charge of this investigation? Or
Yeah.
was that you?
I was in charge of the whole investigation, and then it would have been Chief Deputy Winston Collins.
Okay. And, okay. Now, from what I could review of what I reviewed in the police report, it next says that that you were back out to the property, you yourself, not everybody, but maybe everybody, but I'm just talking about you yourself.
Yeah.
We're back at the property on July 25th.
Yeah.
Do you recall that?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you recall if there were other people there that day?
Deputy Winston Collins and Deputy Kurt Dobbs.
Okay. And were there some dogs there that day?
Yes,
And who brought those dogs?
that was a K-9 unit. I can't remember where they was from, but they had dogs that they was running, and it was unsuccessful because it was so hot. The dogs wasn't.
Were these cadaver dogs or were they a different type of
I
dog?
think it's search dog.
Okay, so they weren't actually looking for a body,
Right.
a deceased body.
Yeah.
Okay, so they were unsuccessful in finding
Finding anything.
anything? Okay. And I want to ask you, you went through a lot of training that you had. Are you trained as a dog handler and for cadaver dogs or any of those types of dogs?
No, I am not.
Okay. Do you know, or I don't know where you were at on the property on the 25th. Did you observe the dogs?
I seen them just for a little bit whenever they released the dogs.
Where did they release the dogs from?
I think they released them down in the lower part of, that would be on the northwest section of the property. It was like a creek area or something, or it was just a low area.
Is that near the structure, the building and the camper?
Maybe an eighth of a mile.
Okay. And so that you think they released them there. Is that when you saw them?
Yes,
Okay. And you didn't see them any other time?
no.
So you don't know where they went?
I know they was on the northwest section of the property.
But you don't know if they went, how far they went, where they
No.
went? Okay.
Thank you so much, Anita. I really appreciate that. That was so
Did
sweet of
they-
you.
were they
Thank
given
you so
something
much.
that would've- Were they given anything?
Hey,
to
Turtle
be able to
Dove.
search?
I can't testify to
All right, now you're for reals in charge, Molson man.
And you don't know
Okay, I'll be right back.
whether or not they were ever brought to the camper or the building,
what was brought back.
the dogs.
Oh, no, I don't know.
Okay.
I know they said it was just too hot for the dogs to work.
Okay. And where were you, what did you do on that day?
I was probably up there talking to Miss Rude and Mr. Pete
Okay. And that would have been where at on the property?
up at the, just in the front grounds of where the building would be.
Okay. And then the next date that I show in the report that is that you yourself were there again was on July 27th. Do you recall being there on that day?
I'm trying to think. I know I was there.
Okay. Were you given consent to search by Reeb on that day?
Yes.
And what did you do on that day? What were you doing there on that day?
I know I talked to Miss Rude. More searching, I think, just looking for clues or something of Savannah. To what extent he done on background investigation.
Okay. Did you find out, before you went, what she was doing, what she was in custody for at that time?
You know, I don't know I can't remember what she was in custody.
Okay, so you didn't actually, but again, you didn't find out before you went, but do you think you might have found out when you got there?
Yes.
When you talked to her?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you find out before you went that she was also in trouble for bringing drugs into the jail?
It's possible.
But you don't recall it?
No.
Okay. So there was, as far as you know, no criminal history of Kathy Hilton was performed before you went to talk to her?
I couldn't testify to that.
Okay. Okay, think I'm almost done with questions for you. I do want to actually kind of jump back. And I want to, can I, are the exhibits still up there in your? Code what? 27? Okay. May I approach? I want to show you what stated marked as state exhibit number 27. And see if you can, you recall that, right?
Yeah.
And you identified that?
Yes.
Can you tell me who's holding the bones in the picture? Do you know?
I think that's Deputy Curtis Dobbs.
Okay. Now, during your training and experience, and you've had, there's a lot that you have went into, were you talked to about how to handle evidence?
I think those were taken to, sent to the Mark Berry.
Okay. What I'm actually asking you though is, when you're on a scene and you're handling evidence, were you told how to handle evidence? Were you taught how to handle evidence?
Yes.
Were your deputies taught how to handle evidence?
Yes.
Is that hand gloved?
No.
Is that a standard practice to not have gloves on when you're handling evidence?
Usually you have gloves on.
Okay, thank you. Can I have just a moment, Your Honor? Yeah, just one moment. I think I have nothing further for this witness, Your Honor.
Sheriff Reed, when you went out to the property on August 4th, did you eventually call in an expert to come help you disassemble a burn pile?
Yes.
Was that Dr. Mark Beery?
Yes, it was.
All right. And did Dr. Beery come to the Root Farm at some point?
Yes.
And what happened when he came to the farm?
Thank you, Charlie. Yes, yes. Poor Alice. She's so put upon. She's the most hassled cat I know. I'm doing better with the frogs, though. Thank you so much for sending that for Alice. I'm going to have to get her something. I'm better about the frogs. I've made peace. Like I know they're out there. They know I'm out there, and I stay away from them, and they stay away from me. And we're just going to coexist like that. We're not going to be friends or nothing, but we'll just coexist. To myself, no, they're not a joke. And the thing is it's we've been getting like weird rain, not at the normal time after it gets all hot, and you know how the humidity and whatnot builds up off of the ocean and everything, and we get the late afternoon breakthrough showers. We're not getting them. We're getting them at like 9 o'clock at night, which is weird. Anyway, so they're out there, and Mac likes to go outside, and he will corner these toads and do nothing but lick them. I don't know. It's the weirdest damn thing I've ever seen, but I'll just let Mac do Mac, because what else are you going to do? I'm just not a fan of them. I just try to avoid them. One of them did hop towards me, and y'all would be proud. I didn't freak out. My heart was racing, but I was not. I made no audible noise, and nor did I like jump up. I processed internally. Internally, I was a mess, but outwardly, I was fine.
Was that on the 4th, or was that another day?
No, it was that day that I contacted him. He come down.
Hey, outside the
And,
box with Chloe
we
Joe. Good to see you, babe.
Gritty. making a grid of that area.
I'm going to show you what it marked as State's Exhibit 30. Could you identify that for us, please?
That's the surrounding of where the brush was piled up and removed.
And was that after all the brush was removed from the pile?
Yes,
And why is it fenced off like that?
just so nobody will contaminate that area until Mr. Berry arrives.
And after Mr. Berry arrived, is that when you did this grid procedure?
Yes,
All right. Is that a fair and accurate representation of the burn pile on that day?
yes,
All right. Or what was the disassembled pile, rather?
right.
Yes. At this time, Judge, move to admit State's 30.
No objection.
Admitted. Now I want to go over this quote in the paper that you gave. They
Night,
showed little
Charlie.
interest, but moved on pretty quick.
Thanks for coming in, babe. Hold on, let me push pause. Good night, Charlie. Thanks for coming in, babe. It was so good to see you. 4 o'clock is early. Oof. All right, here we go. Come on, pewter.
Do you have any experience as a dog handler?
No,
All right. In that 4,500 hours of law enforcement, did you ever do any dog handling training?
no.
All right. How many missing persons have you worked on? How many missing person cases have you worked on in the entirety of your career?
I could not tell you a number. It's been several.
Okay.
Hey,
37
Jody, it's cool. Good to see you,
All right.
babe.
In your experience as a law enforcement officer and working those types of cases, is it likely to find a missing person alive after a couple days?
Molson.
Sometimes you do. It just depends on where, if they actually did run away or.
Come on, get up.
And between the time Savannah was reported missing on July 20th of 2017 and the August 4th search, were there any signs of Savannah through your searches?
The only thing that I got that kind of got me a little excited was somebody said that somebody that looked like her was in a convenience store. They had a video of it. A deputy up there in that area, or the sheriff one, they went to that scene and said, no, that was not her.
All right. And during the course of the investigation, did you learn about a fire that had occurred at the property before Savannah was reported missing?
Yes, I did.
What day did that occur on? Do you recall?
I can't recall.
Okay, no problem. And regarding the search warrants, did you apply for those search warrants or did one of your deputies apply?
Well, the deputies, like,
So they would have written the affidavit for the search warrant?
that is correct.
Right.
Yep,
And
exactly.
this offense occurred 5 years ago. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Sometimes hard to, is your memory not what it was 5 years ago as it is today?
It's, I'll be honest with you, I tried to put this out of my mind because it really disturbed me very, very much.
I don't know if y'all can hear that, but Alice is hitting the mic. She's sitting on my lap, wanting 11, which I'm doing.
Do you know of a report that was written or either by you or at your direction by one of your deputies that spoke about this possible sighting and then a recording and any of that? Do you know if that was in any report?
I don't have any idea. I haven't really researched that and seen.
Okay. Now, you were the chief, were you chief or sheriff?
Oh, sure.
Okay, I'm sorry. As sheriff And especially as the person who was basically in charge of this investigation.
Here we go.
Um,
She's about to
Is
say
is it
something
not
ugly.
your job or duty to know what is being done by your deputies?
They kept me well informed of everything that was going on. I was
So,
with them most of the time.
okay, so if they applied for a search warrant, you would have known they were gonna do that.
That is correct.
And would they have discussed with you what things they were gonna put in there to ask for the search?
Okay, so Turtle Dove, this is the state of Missouri versus Rebecca Rude, RUUD. This took place in 2017, but that's the case. She is accused and on trial for killing her 16-year-old special needs daughter, Savannah. She was diagnosed with high functioning autism, and she had ADHD as well. So, yeah. I don't know why she chose to wear 2017. That's yeah. So, yeah, that was my bad because I was thinking of Gypsy Rose, and her case was June, and something must have happened in 2017. Maybe that's when she took her plea deal. I know 2019 is when Nicholas went on trial. I don't know why. Oh, maybe because they said Springfield. Who knows? I'm rusty and I have a lot of tabs open in my brain right as we speak. Also, Alice is being adorable and I'm very distracted.
Search warrant?
Yeah.
What they're gonna look for?
Yeah.
Okay, so you would have known about it?
Yeah.
Okay. Just 1 second, Your Honor.
No more seconds, lady. Come on. This trial, she's been charged 5 years ago. You've had plenty of time to prepare.
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
I have nothing further for this witness, Your Honor.
Yes, AJ, she did with
May you be excused from this
hydrocodone.
meeting?
I think so.
I
I think they're right on it, it's not like we can't find him, so.
I have no objection to that.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So I think this is where I'm going to leave you guys. But what I'm going to do is go through the rest of day 1, day 2, and day 3's testimony and just get the highlights for each of them for you guys because we are a little bit behind. They did start Monday, and obviously this is Tuesday. And yeah, she does want to chat too. Alice is she's just being so affectionate. My youngest daughter has been in Georgia for the last 2 weeks. She goes there every summer. She's got friends there. And so Alice, although Alice is my cat, really, she is missing. She's the first few days she was like, oh, she'll be back. But after the first week and now into this second week, she's been like, Mom, do you think we should call somebody? The hairless cat is not coming home. Your kitten is missing. She's very confused. So yeah. That's what's been going on over here in the Jen Lu household. And she comes back tomorrow night. So I'm super excited for that. But it's like the super late flight too. But anyway, so I think I'm going to leave you guys here and go through the good stuff. But just because I got started late and I know it's been a while. And so my channel is like not in the algorithm like it used to be. It takes a while for the notifications to go out. So I want to play you guys my new channel opener that I made. And you guys tell me what you think. And then I'll say goodnight after that. All right, so there you have it. That is the new opening. I hope you guys like it. And I will see you guys back here tomorrow. Thank you all for being here so much. Thank you so much for the super chats. Thank you to the mods. I always appreciate it. And I will see you guys tomorrow night at the same time, 9 Eastern. And then again on Saturday, I'm going to, well, thank you, Heather. Thank you very much. On Saturday night, I'm starting a new series. I'm going to call it probably like Saturday Spotlight or something like that. And I'm going to be deep diving into one case at a time. And the first case I'm going to do in honor of my very good bestie family, Team Psych Ward, who has asked me to cover that case. I'm going to cover Candy Montgomery. That's the first case. So that'll be Saturday night. And the next case after Candy Montgomery is going to be the DeFeo case, the true story behind the Amityville horror story. So that one's going to be, both of them are going to be, they're really both really excellent and very interesting cases in two totally different ways. But yeah, that's what we got coming up. So, and then we're going to keep on with this this trial. All right. So you guys have a great evening, and I will see you all tomorrow night. Again, thanks for being here. Okay, bye.